A pleasant good afternoon. Poor people governor with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. This afternoon, we have the privilege of having the vice chair of the PNC, Mr. Vinceroy Adams, and member of parliament, as well as Mr. Ganesh Mahipaul, member of parliament, and we might have Miss Coretta MacDonald, member of parliament as well. It's a full house today, and there's some pressing issues in the news. Very much pressing. Mr. Vinceroy Adams. Did I name
Good
correct?
afternoon,
Yes.
Chief.
Jordan.
You got me as Vinceroy Adams. You got to correct it's Jordan. I don't know
Jordan.
who.
Sorry. Yes, Jordan. Mr. Vinceroy Jordan in the house. Member of Parliament. How are you doing, sir? Welcome back.
Well, I am fine. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to your listening and viewing audience. And thank you for having me this afternoon.
Sure. I want to get straight into it because there's some disturbing news coming out of Region 5, and it seems as though Region 5 is the center of attraction now, and for some good for the PNC and some bad for the PDP. Saying that recently the leader of the opposition had visited Region 5, and that is Champagne. They call it a village, Champagne Village. It's in Moko. Not Moko.
Myconi.
Myconi, sorry.
Myconi.
Myconi, forgive me. Um, he visited there, and there were a number of East Indian Guyanese that went out and supported the coalition and supported his visit. And since then, the government had, as a matter of fact, immediately, the government had launched a vigorous campaign against those East Indian that supported the coalition in terms of inviting the police, discriminating in all angles. Recently, they had to go to the station in Georgetown to answer cybercrime laws. What are your views pertaining to the harassment of those residents that support, particularly the East Indian Guyanese that support the coalition?
All right.
What are your views?
Thank you very much, Miss Allen, for giving me the opportunity to really let the public know, more so those in the diaspora, they can be brought aware of what is actually happening in Guyana. But just to back up a bit on the leader's recent visit to Champagne, we have been working, and the leader would have mentioned this time and time again. We have been working with communities not only in Region 5, but across the country in Region 6, in Region 3, in Region 2, you name it. Every region we're building, we are broadening that base of our support. And some of the communities that we're working with are predominant East Indian communities. We have also started some work with the indigenous peoples. And so we have a wide range of people that we're reaching out to. But I don't know for what reason the PPP believes that they somehow have not only control politically, but they own these people individually as citizens and residents in their community and in Guyana. And the leader would have went to villages such as Shieldstown on the west coast of Bobby's, meeting out with East Indian Guyanese. The leader would have went to Bushlat village on the west coast of Bobby's, meeting out with our Indo-Guyanese brothers again. We had meetings in Bath Settlement, meeting out to our Indo-Guyanese, and now we're in the Myconi district and we're meeting out with our Indo-Guyanese brothers and sisters. What is actually happening is that they are reaching out to us, Mr. Governor, and they are saying to us that they are fed up of what is happening. The discrimination, like I would have mentioned right here on this program just a few weeks ago, it cuts across every ethnicity. It cuts across every persons of every stature in society. And so coming now to Champaign, Maiconi, the residents there we met, they said they want to have the presence of the leader of the opposition. And so it was arranged, and he endeavored and he engaged the residents there in Champaign, Maiconi. But before he actually went to engage with them, once word spread abroad and those in the community knew that he was coming in, the People's Progressive Party began their work by sending out their minions, I will call them, and they started what you call the harassment, and they started threatening that residents must not and should not attend meetings or engage Mr. Norton and his team or have any discussions with him. And so from the time the residents were aware of us coming, this and word got to the PPP, this is what they started. But residents said to us that despite all that they're saying to them, they have had enough of the People's Progressive Party civic. And so they came out on the day in question, and they met with the leader, and it was such a wonderful experience because some of them literally came and stood by trees and at the corners, and they just wanted to engage the leader of the opposition. As a matter of fact, they were so happy when he explained and he laid out some of what some of his plans as a people-centered government should we take office in 2025, which we're very much confident of, knowing what the PPP is doing also to assist in that regard. And so they came out and they themselves shared their experiences in the community as it relates to high cost of living, victimization, discrimination, you name it. They were health matters, matters in education sector. They spoke to him, and then he gave them the necessary solutions that he could bring to some of the issues. And he also spoke with us, and we had arrangements for some immediate intervention, of which we will roll out very shortly as a party to assist in bringing some relief to the residents there in Champaign, Maiconi. But the bottom line of the matter is that the People's Progressive Party civic do not want to see anyone from the People's National Congress, or as a matter of fact, any other party, I believe. They don't want to see them going into these communities that I would normally term as Jagdio having transferred over the lands. And now I would put a new one to it, that he suddenly thinks and believes that he has birthright. So he has control over them. And so he can tell them who to speak with and who not to speak with. But that time or those days have come to an end. And especially our younger generation, they understand and they know that this is not what they should be going through. And so they have come to a point that they will support the coalition regardless of what the PPP say. And this is clear from their attendance and them meeting out to listen and to give us that support at our meetings. And so it shows that they are prepared to make the necessary changes that are needed. I'm not certain if. Sorry.
Yes. Do we have a problem in Guyana when it comes to political party or political parties thinking that they, for instance, both sides, PNC and the PPP, claims that they're going into their stronghold and they're doing this and they're doing that. Is it a problem that political parties think or they believe that one ethnicity belongs to a particular party and one belongs to another?
I'm happy that you would have asked that question. Look, it is clear from 2020 since the PPP took office, and history will tell us also or remind us also that the People's Progressive Party believes that every Indo-Guyanese community, it belongs to them. The People's Progressive Party believes that every Indo-Guyanese belongs to them. And that is something, a culture, a practice, a belief that has to be broken. And I believe it is being broken now because our Indo-Guyanese brothers and sisters are no longer sitting and allowing the PPP to just dominate over their communities and dominate over their lives and say to them what they must or must not do. And I'll tell you why I believe it is the People's Progressive Party Civic who, in actual fact, believe that they're red villages and green villages and all the nonsense that they normally talk about. Because after the 2020 general and regional elections, and they began, of course, with state resources, having all the monies from the oil wealth of the nation, they began coming into Afro-Guyanese communities, of course, which we will call our stronghold, and they began to dole out monies, and they began to promise people and give to them. When they give a young man in let's say, for example, Belladrum, sticking to Region 5, a contract to weed the drains for $1 million, that is what they consider as the best thing to give to an African community. But they go to one of their strongholds and they give them millions or billions of dollars in contracts. But we have not said anything, or that way. We have not launched attacks on our people in our communities because they spoke to the People's Progressive Party Civic. We have not launched attack on those who went during the local government elections. Sonia Parag and others were working with them in number 5 and Belladrum and Hope, those other communities. And they thought that, well, look, they have an opportunity to come into the African communities and more so what they know as the PNC stronghold. But we have said to our people time and time again, take the monies that the People's Progressive Party Civic are bringing and giving to you and utilize it for your upbringing or your welfare, your well-being. But at the end of the day, know what you're doing and know where you're putting your eggs, because they will not come into the community to give it normally. So they want to come to say, look, we're coming to give this person a contract or to do this for that person or to do that for that person. But it is in disguise that they actually coming to garner support for the party, but they're coming with to buy support and to buy votes and to bribe the people. That is what the People's Progressive Party has been doing since taking office in 2020 with the blessings of the oil resources. And so they thought that by them going into the African communities and having that sort of, they one time the PPP had a post out that they have made significant inroads in the Afro-Guyanese community. But then, Mr. Allen, the local government elections came, and just bring the history so that we'll understand. The local government elections came, and when the elections came, they recognized, for example, I'll give you 1 or 2 NDCs because I know we are not that we don't have that much time. But for example, in Belladrum, which is the Prophet Rising Sun NDC, they worked tirelessly. I don't know if you can recall, Sonia Parag had issues where she was trying to take away a building, and I went to defend the people of Belladrum, Paradise, El Dorado, who wanted to utilize the building, but she, having friends in the community now, she thought that they were big and they had that kind of authority over the community. And so they went into the polls, they fielded candidates at every single village in that NDC. And at the end of it, the results were not in their favor. The NDC, the PPP lost the NDC by a great margin. They lost the profit rising, of which they said they were taking away from us. They were going to take some of our seats. But I want to tell you, not one of our seats went to the PPP. We maintained all of our seats, and the PPP only got 2 seats in that NDC, in that area. They got 1 as a result of where they have an elected official, and 1 by the spillover votes. And so they have not made any inroads. Their calculation of buying votes has not worked out. Again, I will talk about Ithaca, where we have in the Blairmont, Geraldland NDC, to the end of that is on the west bank of Berbice, going to the Berbice River. They went into Ithaca and certain parts of Shinstown, where we have predominant Afro-Guyanese, and they doled out and they bought 2 or 3 persons in that community. And when I say bought, they gave them a few contracts, and they thought that, look, this was their stronghold now. They come into the PNC strong and they have rights and so on. And they went and they did all that they did and worked overnight. Again, they fielded candidates in every single constituency. And we went into that local government elections because the NDC is made up in such a way that it covers the entire Blairmont settlements from 1 to 4. And the PPP normally control the NDC. We went into that election having 3 seats in the previous council. We came out of the elections having 4 seats. We increased our seats in spite of the People's Progressive Party Civic doling out millions of dollars in bribe money to some of our supporters. And what in actual fact happened is that in the areas where our traditional PPP support base, the people did not turn out to vote. The people did not support them. And so while they were fighting after the PNC strongholds, we were quietly talking to the people in their stronghold and saying to them, look, if it is a challenge that you cannot vote for us, don't go and vote. And so the same is true in Bushlock, where they normally get 300 at one polling place, where they normally get 300 vote and something voted to 380 on the list. They had just about 120 something votes. The people did not turn out as they should. And that is the message that they're sending to the People's Progressive Party Civic. And by now they should understand that there is no PNC stronghold, as they would want to put it, or PPP stronghold. There are people who are wiser. There are people who support you because of your plans, programs, and policies, and they decide to vote and support you. Yes, of course, we have villages that are made up of a certain ethnicity and vote a certain way. And we know that is true across the country. But I am saying now that the tide is quickly changing, whereby you have in some communities, people are no longer sitting and waiting for the masters of the PPP to come and say to them, today is election day and you got to go for the cup because this is you're in our stronghold. But there are persons who are there and they have made their decisions and they've understood that during the time of the coalition, they were better off than now under the People's Progressive Party Civic. And so it is clear that the choice has been made, not only in Champaign-Mahaicony, but across the country. In Region 9, we were in the Rupununi, and there were several indigenous brothers and sisters who said they are fed up. We were in the Pomeroon. There were several East Indo-Guyanese who said that they were fed up and they're making that change. We were on the quarantine, and the same is true on the quarantine, my brother. And so I am saying now that the People's Progressive Party, knowing that we are going into their communities, making inroads, they have resorted to their old tactics. Of course, they always do it, which is the usual victimization, harassment, and they use every agency of the state that is at their disposal to accomplish that. So it is not only the Guyana police force, but it is every agency at their disposal. I'll tell you why. Because in Bath Settlement, where we had a meeting recently, some of our workers did a meeting with some of the residents, and a huge crowd, people turn out to listen to understand what is happening at the bottom house. And a few days after, the RDC councillor allegedly he went and attacked the residents and their entire household, the entire family. A few days after, they sent the Guyana Revenue Authority to check on the man's business. A few days after, they sent the Neighbor Democratic Council to harass his wife. A few days after, they sent Central Housing and Planning Authority to tell them that they can stop them from operating their business within that housing scheme area. So it is a normal practice of the People's Progressive Party, Civic. The same is true again. After the 2020 elections, they burned down farm in Bath Settlement for our supporters. They burned butcher shop in Bushlot village for our supporters. And so it is a usual tactic that they go back to. And now they're pulling everything out of their playbook that they could do. They're using the police now to harass the people. And every opportunity that they have, they go after them. And what is alarming about it is that even to some of the People's Progressive Party members are annoyed because they have said to me, and more than one, as a matter of fact, I can number them. It is about 4 of them who would have said to me that which they have resorted to be attacking the members or the residents, it is not something good. Because they have said, and we have enough evidence to support what they have said, and allegations leveled against the second vice president. The members would have alleged that he has instructed that those members of Champagne should not be at peace, they should not rest. And that is what is very much alarming, that they can go to such a level as the second vice president. Well, of course, he believes that he has that right. And so their supporters would have said that is wrong. They said he should not resort to that, and people must be allowed to make their free choice. And so I want to say, my brother, they don't have control over any community once it's the people's decision to follow or to support another party.
Conversations with Poor People Governor, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. I'm responsible for what I say, not what you interpret. We're having a conversation with Vinceroy Jordan, Member of Parliament, and my guest, Ganesh Mahipaul. I don't know if he's in the studios yet. I want to take you back to Champagne. You told us what transpired when the leader visited and how things went. After his visit, there were a number of things that happened after that in terms of the victimization that started and how it started and to what extent and where it is right now.
All right. Well, what I know for sure is that It started just about 2 nights before the meeting, as I said earlier, when they employed, I would put it this way, a popular rice farmer. The resident said it is at his residence that the member of parliament for Region 5 normally go and have hearings and so on. That is the PPP member of parliament, and that they have some amount of control over him. And they sent him out to threaten the persons not to go to the meeting. But that aside, the persons turned up to the meeting. And after that, they went to the meeting. We learned that this People's Progressive Party Civic instructed the Guyana Police Force, of which we have no confidence in. We have confidence in some of the officers and persons within the force, but not the force as a total, because there are elements that are controlling the Guyana Police Force that are very much unprofessional, not fully equipped, either being qualified or certified for the job. And so we don't support and subscribe to some elements within the Guyana Police Force. But they instructed the Guyana Police Force, and these are some of the things that the police must take notice of. They must understand the temperature in the room. They must be vigilant of what is happening. And so they filed some sort of cyber crime, Mr. Allen. They brought charges or want to bring charges against a family, both a wife and a husband. Cybercrime issues of somebody writing something on Facebook, and back and forth conversations ensued. And this, I understand, was as a result of issues dating back to February of this year. We're almost at another February. Why is it that the DPP couldn't send that file back in March or April or even June or August? Why is it that this file came back suddenly 4 days after the people met with Mr. Norton? And so they sent in the police, of which I know there are some police within the state that are not prepared to go against our people. But here the instructions they are following, and they decided to charge these people. They want to have their devices and all sorts of things. And so they asked them to report to the Maikoni police station, after which they were taken to the cybercrime unit, which is the head of criminal investigations department in Georgetown. And we had to provide as a party the requisite legal representation for the family. The family had to leave their children from school. If you look at one of the videos, the father had to take his child with him to the cybercrime unit. This is how uncaring and heartless the People's Progressive Party Civic is. And to know that when we got there, the lawyer, if you listen to the lawyer speaking, the lawyer said that those at the CID headquarters who are responsible for the cybercrime unit and all the investigations, they were ill prepared. They hadn't any, there was a number of missteps. They hadn't the proper investigation. They hadn't even a proper file prepared. Because we know that it is not what is not the matter before them is not true. They're just trumping these things up to bring fear and to scare the people and to lure them into a place and point that they must say, oh, we are afraid and we will not support the AP and you're the PNC, but we're gonna stick with the People's Progressive Party. And so they took the family to CID. We represented them with our legal representation, and today they are free and they're at home. Just this morning, we learned that there's a man by the name of Silchan. I cannot recall his first name, but allegations are leveled against him that he is the PPP operative within that community, and that he is using his motor vehicle in a reckless manner. where he's running the families off of the road. Everybody who speaks out against the PPP, he's attacking them. Only this morning, he launched an attack on one of the residents, hitting her vehicle and breaking it, damaging her vehicle. And this man, Silchan, is known allegedly again to have hit a young Amerindian boy and off of these, what is called the little electric motorcycle. Well, you can't the electric bike, sorry. Um, he hit him, and because of his affiliation, nothing was done. He said to the people and the family, you almost watch where you're riding. But we also learned that he is blocking the pathway, blocking the road. And his justification for that is that he is a member of the People's Progressive Party Civic, and he's a big one. And so
Wow.
he can pass them. And so from the time they started, like about a year or so ago, to have views that they will not support the PPP again, he started to come up against the people. And it is clear that these are the things the PPP resort to when it comes to supporters walking away from them. And there, the PPP, the top practices it, and so those at the bottom also practice it. And so the attack is being launched. At the school, they're launching the attack because they ran a number of teachers out, transferring them, moving them to the school, end up losing some of the prominent teachers who brought good results out of the children at grade 6, national grade 6 exams. And so it is widespread. It is something that it is deep. And when we look at it and one examine, you know that the PPP is in great trouble when it comes to them, what I would say, maintaining their stronghold or maintaining their base. Because everything that ill that they do in society, it not only affects Afro-Guyanese, indigenous Guyanese, or the mixed race. It affects even to our Indo brothers and sisters. It affects those in their strongholds, and it affects Guyanese as general. And so, because they do the ills and it affects all Guyanese, Guyanese are now speaking up and speaking out against the People's Progressive Party Civic.
And rightly so. Um, I want to assure the East Indian Guyanese throughout the country that support the coalition. And I find a lot of East Indian Guyanese now are coming out from that hole that Barajabio and the PVP tends to feel they have. Like you said, it's a different time. And they want to support the coalition. They have to be free to do so without political interference from Barajagio himself and the PPP. They have no stronghold on no individual. Persons must be free to support whichever party they choose to without victimization and political interference from the PPP. I don't know in what day and age Barajagio is living in that he tells himself that he can still control people because of their ethnicity. It is wrong, and we should condemn it in the highest terms. I'm happy to know that you have given great representation to number 5, region number 5, and particularly to the relatives and the friends and family of the families that are being affected by victimization of the PPP. I know you've been working hard there throughout the last few days and trying to make sure that they don't succeed in whichever way they're trying to go with this family that give their full support. And the only crime they've committed in the PVP eyes is they're East Indian, basically. Um, Mr. Jordan, I want to turn your attention to the education system in Region 5. It seems that as though I would have loved for Coretta McDonald to be here, because when pre name calling is put Coretta next to it, you know. Um, Recently in region number 5 as well, there were some uh, parent visiting a school that is under repairs for some strange reason this time of the year when children supposed to be in school doing their very best for their exam. They're doing repairs to the school and a plank, so to speak, or 2x4, 6x4 fell and injured a parent. How do you respond? What kind of incompetence is that coming from the government?
Well, let me just clear one thing up. It is because when we did our press release, perhaps persons were not properly guided. But the school that is under repair currently is the Hope Town Nursery. And the parent was at the Bushlot Secondary. And that school is in a dilapidated state at some sections. To the point that you can be walking outside, you can put your hands inside. To the point that once it rains, you have to get probably umbrella in the classroom, or you put a bowl to catch the water.
Is this a secondary school?
It is a secondary school. Secondary school. And to the point that in the auditorium, one section could have come at any time on everybody that would be there. To the point again that on the rooftop, you can play every single tune that you want because the zinc would flap and it would make as much noise and you put it as music if you want to put it that way as it can. Now they had what we know they normally do now, a parent teachers conference, and this parent having 2 children at that school went to be a part of the conference with the class teachers. And it was during our time and engagement there at the school that as she was traversing some section of the school, that a beam fell, which was probably there for some time rotten. And teachers indicated to me that they would have spoken to the head teacher of the school, and they would have spoken to the authorities of the state of the school. As a matter of fact, the teachers took to the social media page, or pages rather, along with parents and so, and they highlighted at the beginning of the term the state of the school, and they said it is not sound, structurally sound, for them to be there and to have to teach one, work there, and to have the children. All that was ignored. But I would conclude with regards to that being ignored, it is the incompetence that I've been talking about for a number of years now of the People's Progressive Party Civic, of which the Minister of Education is complicit in, very much complicit in incompetence. She, the minister, runs around this country and talk about every single new school that she builds. It doesn't matter if it took 2 years out of a 1-year contract. She celebrates at the end that she would have built a new school. Of course, they have more resources now. But apart from that, you are not maintaining the schools that you have in existence, to the point that you have a beam falling from the roof, to the point that you have several schools. We saw at the beginning of the term, when rain fell, it was pouring through the roof, the ceilings, to the point that when you go, there's no water in schools, to the point that when you check that the washroom facilities were broken down. These are some of the issues that demonstrate that speaks to the incompetence of the Minister of Education. And why I will lay at the feet of the Minister of Education is because she is responsible for the proper education delivery in this country. And she likes to sidestep and say, oh, it comes under the regional democratic councils. It comes under the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development in terms of having schools maintained. Yes, it comes under the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, but it is in partnership with you at the Ministry of Education, your Department of Education, and your entire team headed by the Chief Education Officer. Because how every other thing that goes through the ministries as a collaborative effort works out when you want it to work, but you cannot work to bring relief to the children, aid to the children, and fixing the schools. The same nonsense she said when the dormitory fire at Madhya occurred. The Minister of Education said that she sidestepped immediately that the dorm fell under the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development. Of course, we know that that minister was very much incompetent too, because it is something across the board in the People's Progressive Party civic. But if you, as the Minister of Education, you go around every day, your team go around, you have an education unit headed by Saddam Hussein, you have regional departments. Why is it that you cannot check on these schools and have them prepared for the time when school would reopen? But you know what is Priya Manichan's concern? She is always concerned over quantity. And only today I was telling someone that this woman is obsessed with quantity, but behind the quantity there is no quality. Priya Manichan does not have any sense or concern when it comes to having quality, be it education delivery, be it quality trained teachers, be it quality spaces for the educators to perform their duty, be it quality spaces for those pupils, the students along to be taught in. She does not concern about that, but she can speak about how much or how many, because it's quantity. And she uses that on her Facebook platform to speak a lot. Oh, I would have. Only today there's a graduation ceremony. And that graduation ceremony was riddled with a lot of discrepancies at the last one. I pray to God that all those teachers that are graduating today would have graduated based on the completion of the courses. Because the last time we know, and it is for fact, that teachers graduated who have never stepped into a classroom, not one day. Teachers in the thousands graduated who graves were placed on their names. Their names were called at the end of the graduation ceremony as having graduated, not only graduated, but graduated with passing with credit and distinction. And some of them stopped halfway of the program, but they graduated at the end. Some of them, they did not attend, but they graduated at the end. But that is Priya Manichan. But coming back to reason 5 and the incompetence, Priya Manichan is to be blamed for the injuries afflicted to that teacher, that parent. And to date, I learned that the department has not yet supported the parent in any way, fashion, or form. I learned that the regional education officer is still in a meeting from since that day to today. He is in a meeting, but that meeting has not yet been has not yet ended or in any way adjourned so that he can visit the injured parent. Priya Manichan has not yet found some time, but you know what? When it is time for them to give the praises and if it was something good, oh yes, they would have been running all around and bringing the people together. But today, here we see a parent being injured, but they don't have the time and the concern.
While you're speaking on the education minister, what is the position with Hopetown Nursery School?
Well, the Hopetown Nursery School, and this is incompetence again, they had a whole regional education officer for the Mahipaul region who they transferred, allegedly coming out of the REO's office, and those are the hierarchy of the regional Democratic Council over corruption and incompetence, transferred now to region number 4. I pray to God that those in region 4 would be able to manage with that. Anyhow, the Hopetown Nursery School is slated to be rebuilt. The school is in a state that you have to get a new school. The school term ended in July, the first week about in July. They had 2 months, Mr. Allen, to put things in place, be it to start building the school or to have an alternative location where they can put these children when the term reopens, when school term reopens in September. None of that was done. They waited at the middle of the term, which was about a week or so ago, or 2 weeks ago, and they went and decided to break down the school and stockpile materials and bring stuff back down in the roof broken halfway, and the teachers and the children got to sit there and endure all of that. Nails in the compound, steel work being done, heavy duty equipment in the compound.
And this is a nursery school.
This is a nursery school where the smallest of our children are going to. So I don't know if they expect the teachers to watch the children when they go into the compound one by one. Because if you send the children into the compound, you know for sure 2 teachers can look at them. Because they will,
incompetence.
You know, it is you cannot be doing that in the middle of a school term. Priya Manik Chan must, you know, there's things we cannot associate with the People's Progressive Party, Civic and the Minister. So let me rephrase. I don't know if she should know that what is happening there is something that would affect, one, the learning of the children, because the hammering and the banging and the machine working outside would contribute to the greatest of noise. Hence, the children would not be able to focus. The teachers would not be able to deliver in the way they want to. The bat dung that is falling and itching and causing scratches to the teacher's skin and all those things, that also would make them uncomfortable. And to know that the building, they're now cramped in one half of the building is enough for them to, in the hot temperature, be uncomfortable, for them to not be, you know, be able to perform as per normal. But when you put those things in the minds of Priya Manik Chan to comprehend, she would not really understand that. She, you know, that is something that they don't really take time to look at. Take, for example, I sidestep here now. The Barmia Primary School, that school has been under construction from since Noah was a boy. The Barmia Primary School in Linden Region 10. And the Vice President, no less of a person, said the other day, according to the news, that the school has been completed. And then you read just a few minutes after that the school is not yet completed. For certain things, these people don't be able to comprehend, my good friend. But the Hopetown Nursery School is in a state that I believe that parents should take the stance and the position that they must not send their children to that school, and demand of the ministry, demand of the government, demand of the department that they must have a comfortable place where the children will be able to function properly, and that the teachers will be comfortable and be able to deliver. And we have suggested alternative locations to them, and we hope that they take that into consideration. But I would say to the parents out of this program here that they should not be sending their children there, and take a stand that the ministry find the necessary place to put their children, because that building would not be completed in 6 months, and knowing the PPP not even in a year, I would give it that much. And so this 1 year the children would have to endure that nonsense. And so I say to the parents, let the government find alternative place for the children to go and be taught. And you as parents must take the stance in that effort.
Conversations with Poor People Governor. You're speaking with Vinceroy Jordan, Member of Parliament. I want to shift your attention to what concerns most Guyanese and Guyanese in the diaspora since the Vice President has made it an issue with the 100,000 cash grant as it may. Um, what is going on? We saw the president announcing in Parliament, and we spoke about that, where they're 200,000 per household. They couldn't define what's a household, and they retracted and they said 100,000 to every person over the age of 18. Recently, the vice president said that persons in the diaspora, they're looking to extend it to persons in the diaspora. I don't know if it's by proxy or how they intend to do it, but as I see, it's an opportunity for another PPP scheme or scam, so to speak. What is your take on the 100,000 starting to ending, if you may?
Well, I would want to start at the point of Ali announcing the $200,000. We said here, I think it was just about a day before or two before we went to the National Assembly, that there is no amount of sugarcoating and promises and goodies that Ali could give out to Guyanese at this juncture that could say to them that it will make their lives better, because they have created this situation of high, they've contributed to the high cost of living. They have sat on the billions of dollars that were budgeted to cushion it without no plan to roll out any policy in place to really speak to the alleviation of this high cost of living. An entire year they sat there on it. Now, coming to the National Assembly and speaking about this $200,000, excuse me, and I thought that the PPP had a plan because I heard them speaking about it. But from the time Ali finished speaking, in a matter of hours, and Jack Joe spoke, right away you know that this is not a plan. Because
No plan.
if it had a plan, if Aubrey Norton says something and we know it is a plan and policy or coming out of policies, and then we have plans within our party and within the opposition, I would be singing from the same hymn book. I know what we talk about. But here is Barry Jagdeo coming out just after to say that, look, this thing not going to be immediate, as Ali said instantaneously. This thing going to be some 5 months. We saw what happened after that. You got to run back and retract. Then after the coalition started speaking about what is the household, tell us, define, tell Guyanese how this household thing would work out. The leader of the opposition quickly hammered them, define household, because we know what you did during the COVID-19 distribution, cash grant distribution. We know what you discriminate, how we discriminated against our people. The PPP could not define what is a household. The coalition then spoke about having all Guyanese over the age of 18 years receive it, and Mr. Vincent Jordan, of course, championed that also, and speaking to the point that it should be that the government should go in that direction. In a matter of days, Irfan Ali came out and said, no, it's not $200,000 for mobile. We're going to give 100,000 to every. Of course, we welcome it in that way, because all Guyanese 18 years and older would receive, or I should say should receive, the monies, barring discrimination and all of that. And it will also be it will also benefit more persons within the household. Because, for example, if you have 4 adults in a household, you would only receive $200,000. But now here is a case that all of them would receive their own $100,000, be it the teacher, the mother, the father, and so it is something that will benefit Guyanese wider. That is how I see it.
I share
And
the same view.
right. And then our young people were complaining that, look, when mommy or daddy collects this money, then they wouldn't really get anything. We heard that on the ground. And so they now would be a part of it. But to know that Ali could have changed, of course, it was wise counsel from the former finance minister. But to know that he came out just a matter of days after and said, look, we accept and we're going to do this thing. It tells me, and it should tell the nation that in the first instance, there was no plan for the $200,000. They had no vision behind it. It was just, as Mr. Jordan would have said, a knee jerk. It was just spontaneous. They just wake up and they say, I'm going to come and I'm going to give you $200,000. He don't care how it going to be distributed, whether it going to reach everybody. It is the usual thing. Jack Joe does just flick. The people operate like people. He flick
Like
and hope
switches.
he lands on his foot and not his head, as the opposition leader would normally say. And so he just walk out, and when he walk out and he hear people talk about something, he say, oh, I have a fix to this. And this is what I will do, with no clear thought out policies, no study. And I like to argue the coalition ain't doing nothing because we studying. But it is the study that we were studying that when we have advised them properly that it is better to give each adult $100,000. And they had to take that into consideration and then apply it. But that apart again, Jagdio came out just yesterday, I think it was. And Jagdio said, look, every Guyanese beating Guyana diaspora, wherever you might be, you entitled to this $100,000. Again, we have no problem. Leader of the opposition during this press conference said, we are not against this distribution to Guyanese. Guyanese anywhere and everywhere ought to get it because they would have contributed to the nation and they must be partakers and be able to enjoy the wealth and patrimony of the nation. But I believe it is breeding wrong, and these are the belief of many for corruption when it comes to the People's Progressive Party Civic distributing these monies, especially when they're going to say to us that persons are going to come, those in the diaspora and all of that. Let them work with the list that we have, as was suggested. Let them work with a scrutineer from the coalition. Let us see and know. So if you're giving out to Guyanese in Region 5 today, let it be a clear and transparent process that all parties and stakeholders involved can see and know that you're doing it in a transparent manner. So afford us as the coalition, afford us as the opposition, as scrutineers, so to speak, or if you want to call them an accountant, somebody that is there to see that you do it properly. And let us be a part of it, because we know that this very scheme, you remember persons were sharing out ID cards during the 2020 election. You remember the names were calling. And so if they could have done that then, I know for sure that there's nothing difficult for them to be producing ID cards now. Because I'll tell you one thing. For sure, they want, when this exercise is completed, they would have to report to the nation how many Guyanese over the age of 18 would have collected these monies. And when it can't reach that 700 and what's not, that is on the list, 713,000 that is on the list of the official list of electors, GCOM list, then the nation will know that what we're talking about, those who would have migrated, those who are there, they can't come and pick up the money because people ain't gonna spend $900 to fly to Guyana, $600 to fly to Guyana to collect $500. It ain't gonna work. So it is clear that the PPP would have put themselves in another fix, because they would have to now bring themselves out of this, where we know for sure it's just about 400, 450,000. Might very well collect this money. At average, it might reach 500,000. And when they cannot account for the others, they're in another fix. So when Jack Joe come in yesterday to say, all those in the diaspora, he's a very, very sly chap. And so he know full well he got to put in other ways that will add up to the 700 and 30. So they're going to begin to manufacture ID cards and put people's faces on them and have their cronies and them set up places where they can go and collect. We know what the PPP is capable of. Don't forget again, it is the same Barajagio who had to apologize to a daughter of a deceased woman after putting her name in his workers, putting her name on a list and having signature for that woman after she's already would have already died. And we know that they're complicit in fraud and fraudulent activities. So there's nothing that we can put past them when it comes to them going and getting persons to have ID card, number one, and to sign. I know the People's Progressive Party Civic are capable of doing almost anything that is wrong in the sight of man and God.
Well said, well said. Vinceroy Jordan, Member of Parliament. Before I let you go, I must get a comment from you on the state of affairs in the Guyana Police Force. I don't know where to start, end, nor begin. Just take it away.
My brother, the Guyana Police Force, I mean, the media has it well spoken, but let me contribute. We have long concluded as an opposition that the Guyana Police Force is politically controlled, politically directed. As a result of that, there is a breakdown in the law, there is a breakdown in the training, the command, the professionalism, everything there's a breakdown in. And we know, yes, go ahead.
So sorry to interrupt you there, but where is the Commissioner of Police in all of this? Why is he so silent? Seeking confirmation to be in the Commissioner of Police. One would expect he would speak out on corruption. His second in charge is being labeled with all manner of corruption from top to bottom. The amount of millions of dollars, and this is only because he's being put to the front. What about the rest of them? Where are they getting all this money from?
I was coming to that. So my brother, you asked the question, where is Clifton Ikins? And like any other good leader, he would have been out there either defending or speaking to the matter as it is, whatever his statement would be. But Clifton Ikins has disappeared. His silence is deafening to all Guyanese. We can hear the silence of Clifton Ikins because it is so clear. What we need to note is that there are many persons within the hierarchy of the Guyana Police Force who are in similar, if not worse, positions than what Clifton, Mr. Brutus is in. And so some people, as our people say, they're biting, hoping and praying that Brutus doesn't say anything. I am of the firm belief that should Brutus begin to speak, Clifton Ikins and the likes of the People's Progressive Party Civic will be in deep trouble. But the Guyana Police Force is at its lowest state ever in the history of it, according to my knowledge. Under the coalition, the Guyana Police Force was known for wanting to curb the unprofessionalism, wanting to curb bribery, wanting to curb corruption. But here we find that, look, it is just a matter of days, weeks, they started investigating, unless they might come out and say later that they were investigating Brutus long now. But they're just a couple of days, weeks, and they have already found 242 charges or charges. Imagine if they do a good forensic independent audit on the Guyana police force and start from Clifton Akins and go right down to every one of them and the ministers of government and so on. You would find that they are not only 800, but there might be billions of dollars in bank accounts sitting around and properties. So let them not only take the accounts of Calvin Brutus, let them take the accounts of Clifton Akins, Karim Bash at Soku. Let them take the accounts of the others. You have the crime chief and all of them. Take the account of them, check up on them, let us know where and what they have. Because as I'm saying to you, when the beam starts to spill, it is going to be a very, very slippery slope that a lot of them will be on. And don't put it past, don't worry, those blocks from Barajak Dio, they are complicit in the PPP, in the corruption in the Guyana police force. And so I would want to say that the only fix for the Guyana police force is getting rid of the head who is currently acting. Well, I want to see, before I go there, I want to see if finally, who so badly wanted to promote Calvin Brutus earlier in 2021 and promote now Clifton Akins, if he would still move forward into promoting Clifton Akins. I want to see with all those corruption, because just the other day, Gail Chichera said that, oh, the police force is in its glorious days. The public has suddenly recognized that the force is such a wonderful force. Look, the only fix to the Guyana police force is getting rid of the head and all those that are corrupt and complicit in corruption in the hierarchy, getting rid of the People's Progressive Party civic, and having not only a qualified but a certified commissioner of police, a competent commissioner of police, one who is professional, one who, as David Granger would have been asking for, that is unbribable, and one that will lead Guyana and the Guyana police force in the true sense of its motto, to protect and to serve the people of Guyana. And when we have that person, of course it will be none of those who are there at that hierarchy. We know for sure that the force would go in a better direction. And that will only happen when the PPP is gone, the coalition returns to government, and we can put that right person in place to lead the Guyana police force.
To lead the Guyana police force, indeed. I want to get a comment, if you may. Recently, Rickford Burke is calling for the Attorney General to be charged for lying to the State Department and the FBI. I don't know if you're following that case and what you think of it.
Well, I did get a chance to listen. I've not get the opportunity to read in depth, but I got the chance to listen, and I read just about one or two articles there about on the matter. But I would want to say this much, not wanting to go deep into what I would not have studied as yet, that nothing is strange when it comes to the PPP and more so their Attorney General lying to anybody. If we remember, or you could recall carefully, it is the same Attorney General who stole and had in his possession, allegedly, the law books of this belonging to the state, of which many Guyanese are aware of. And you would know that it is the same Attorney General who was fingered in the allegations with regards to the identification cards allegation and scandal exposed during the 2020 election. It is the same Attorney General belonging to the People's Progressive Party civic who has been going after Bickford Burke from the inception, even before them taking office, and has promised that he would get him either extradited or whatever way to get him to answer and to silence him, in other words. And so I don't see him lying to the FBI, lying to the State Department, lying to anybody as anything strange or new once it is an opportunity for him to achieve his own hidden agenda or purpose of going after Rickford work.
Thank you. We have some breaking news here. Calvin Brutus has withdrawn and discontinued his case with the High Court.
Well, my brother, it is not surprising. It is not, because I know. Look, I can let me show. It is
what
not
kind of country
surprising.
are we living in?
It is not.
Discontinued and withdraw.
And this is why we have long said we need an independent police force, the investigative team rather, to look into this matter. Because now all the charges, you might suddenly hear that this was not really what was meant, and this was a miscalculation. The millions might become thousands very shortly, because there is much at stake, my brother, for this government.
Is this a facade as to get him out of the way? The commissioner soon retired, to get who they want to be the commissioner of police and second in command. Is this a PPP tactic to get him out of the way, corrupt him so much that he has to go, give him a nice settlement, give the commissioner of police a happy and decent retirement, and then they get to swear in who they want to control as the commissioner of police? What kind of nonsense is this? What is really going on?
I would say to you, it could very well be one of the options that they have, because we know that they don't really want Higgins to be the commissioner. He might be there for a day or two once they confirm him, and then they send him back in. Just that they want to give him his benefit. I use you and you're done, and we don't want you. And now that they would have gotten Brutus in this position and in this way, well, then you're no longer credible to be commissioner of police. You gone, and the third person they can put who they wish, and so it is an option. But I am saying deeper than
it is the option,
right? Well, it could be the option, but deeper than the option is the position that many of us would have long taken, that the People's Progressive Party Civic has a lot at stake. They have a lot at stake to lose should Brutus begin to speak. They have a lot at stake. A lot of government ministers and senior ones in the PPP would have to run down the road by the living quarters there to beg Brutus to shut his mouth. I know that this matter was not going anywhere too far. It is just the whole charade and the smoke screen over Guyanese eyes to make them believe that they're doing something about corruption. No, because they are all complicit in the corruption of the Guyana Police Force. You don't have to go far to know that they're complicit. Look at the corruptions at the Ministry of Agriculture. Look at the corruption at the Ministry of Human Services and all that. It is scandal with the book and the pension. All those things, those are corruption. Look at the corruption in the Ministry of oh my goodness, local government and regional development, and the Ministry of Public Works when it comes to contracts and the distribution. Those all fall under those, where not REOs, engineers and all of those, they're complicit. Every single agency and area you look at, you see the corruption and you see how they are somewhat intertwined and engaged in it, and you will know that it is not serious. Jagdio could not have dismissed that engineer in one of the regions who took 20 something millions of dollars in contract and is still sitting as an engineer. You know that why is it that he couldn't send him home? Because the guy is a People's Progressive Party civic member.
And the kickback already being paid.
And the kickback was paid. And so these things are known that they don't have far to go. That they make a set of noise one day and they say, oh, you can let out the dogs and the cats and the pig and everything. And then at the end of the day, they're going behind the back and say, Brutus, you gotta settle this thing. This thing,
But just as the statement made, the chap the chap withdraw from the High Court. So I don't know if this is a gimmick to fool the Guyanese people, but for some reason, like I am getting to believe more and more that they're trying to get Hickins and Brutus out of the way to appoint who they really and truly want as commissioner. And
like I said, it could be an option. And I believe it has come to the point that Guyanese must now see this and understand that this government has, they have no intention rather in curbing corruption in this country, and that the government is prepared to protect, the government is prepared to empower anybody that is engaged in corruption. And Guyanese must stand up against this. And it is where we must now make the call again for international investigators to come and deal with this matter. Because SOCU, as we know, cannot investigate SOCU. And SOCU can't investigate the guy in the police force. Because when SOCU investigating Karimbash, Brutus, the same Karimbash that is head of SOCU was allegedly being fingered in some percentage into
$20 billion percentage down payment into the wedding too.
You can't put cat to watch milk. And when you
independent investigation.
That is right. When you know a man susu up 2 years now and still susuing and can't get himself out of the susu and nobody can investigate him, you must know that they are prepared to defend any level of corruption.
Oh, Empri Vinceroy Jordan, thanks for having you here. Here's where we bring the curtains down. It was a pleasure, my brother, having you here to educate the normal citizens, as I like to say, the poorer class in our society, that, you know, we try to be the voice for them. And thank you once again for standing up for the family, the relatives and friends in Champagne Village. It was a pleasure. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And I must apologize for Mr. Ganesh. He has other engagement and could not be here. Have a blessed and a wonderful day, my people. Love you all.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Yeah, you're welcome, sir.
Blessings.
Yeah.